learning how, we are learning about Antonio Canova. And so we are going to be outside because it's so beautiful that we want to spend our day outside. But if you can do this lesson inside, you can most certainly do this lesson inside as well. Antonio Canova is known as the greatest Italian neoclassical sculptor. He started sculpting when he was only 11 years old. He was born in 1757 in Italy, and he died in 1822. Antonio Canova's father and his grandfather were both stonecutters, so he comes from a long line of people who like to work with stone. When Antonio was very young, his father died, and so his grandfather, became his caretaker, the one who raised him. So he learned a lot from his grandfather. It is said that his sculptures were so lifelike that people sometimes accused him of using plaster molds. Like they'd put a plaster mold on a model's face, that he wouldn't actually carve them out of stone, his sculptures out of stone, that instead that he was a mold to be able to create his sculptures. But of course we know that's not true. It's just people accusing him of that because his sculptures were so lifelike. Also, in this time in history, just to give you a historical context of where Antonio Canova falls into the whole scheme of things going on in the world, in 1773 was the Boston Tea Party, and in 1820 was the Missouri Compromise. This piece of art that we are going to study by Antonio Canova is called Orpheus. Canova was about 16 or 17 years old when he sculpted Orpheus. And it's a story from Greek mythology. It's actually, the statue is actually a two pairs to the sculptures. It's both Orpheus and his wife Eurydice, and he sculpted. The one we're going to be studying is Orpheus. We're going to talk about the story, the mythology, the story behind this Greek mythology story. What happened was that Eurydice was Orpheus's wife, and she died from a snake bite. And so she was brought to the underworld, and then Orpheus wanted to be able to bring her back, so he went to the underworld and he played his music for the underworld gods, and they enjoyed it so much that they agreed to let her come back to, I guess, to the normal world, to the world of the living, was what they called it. And so, but they had one rule, that he could not look at her while they were coming back to the living world. But he could not resist to look at his wife, that he then looked upon her and he lost to her forever. And in this sculpture is what you see of Orpheus dropping his instrument, and he's just in agony that he lost his wife again. The statues, like I said, are a pair, and they were made for a senator's garden to be displayed there. But now they are on display at the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg, Russia, which is really cool because I've actually seen these in person when I visited the Hermitage. So it is really cool to be able to see those in person, and then to know the history and the artist behind those sculptures. Mythology is a collection of myths or stories that belong to a particular culture or tradition. So it kind of helps to explain what was going on in the natural sense, like if people die, or if someone got sick, or why did it rain. Sometimes there were just stories to try to help explain these natural occurrences. The second piece that we are going to study is called Theseus and the Minotaur. This was sculpted in 1777. And is made out of marble, which weighs over 2,000 pounds. That's really heavy. This sculpture is portraying a scene from Greek mythology written by Ovid. And it is a minotaur, which is a creature from Greek mythology, which is a Greek-like storytelling, that had the head of a bull and the body of a man. So it's kind of like mixing two creatures together. And so what do you think that Canova wants us to feel after seeing this? The third piece of art that we are going to study from Canova is called The Penitent of Magdalene. Penitent means to feel regret or sorrow, or of having done something wrong. sculpture was first exhibited in 1808. The sculpture shows Mary Magdalene mourning the loss of Jesus. There was a huge appeal for the sculpture at the time because of the political and religious sensitivities around the whole topic. France at this time was largely de-Christianized. It was been de-Christianized since the Revolution in 1789. And in 1801, Napoleon signed an agreement with the Pope and the state, saying, I guess, that they could have religion again. And so it was huge to have the French state to show a religious peace, which is this image of Mary Magdalene feeling sorrow and loss over Jesus. And so just to be able to display that this sculpture, because this was ended up being shown in France, so it was huge implications of having this sculpture being shown by the French government pretty much. So there were two versions of it created. This one is now in St. Petersburg in the Hermitage as well. It used to have a cross, a metal cross in her hands. So she was holding the metal cross in her hands. But some people say that it went missing. Some people said maybe it didn't last that long, so it was made out of metal and not out of marble. But it is speculated that it had to be removed because, sorry, there's a toddler that's gonna hit me with her bike. Because it was speculated that mediums between two different materials were not allowed to be crossed at that time in France. It wasn't an accepted practice to be able to have something made out of metal and to be able to have a marble sculpture. So maybe that's why. Canova in this piece used naturalism. Naturalism is an approach to art in which the objects are depicted by the artist as they were actually observed. So you can actually see that this is how he imagined Mary Magdalene expressing her sorrow over the loss of Jesus. Fourth and final piece that we are going to study from Canova is called the Cenotaph for Archduchess Maria Christina. This is a monument that St. Augustine's in St. Augustine's Church in Vienna. It was commissioned by Duke Albert Saxon-Teschen for his wife who died in 1798. A cenotaph is a monument for someone who was buried somewhere else. So it's just kind of just to remember his wife that died. It's a special building that was built just to remember his wife. And so Canova completed it in 1805. So what do you think is going on with this? And what do you see that makes you say that? What do you think Canova wants us to feel when we see this? What is the emotion of the people in the monument? We're learning how today we are going to make our own mythological creatures. How we learned about the creatures in Canova's sculptures, how one had the head of a bull and the body of a human. We are going to make our own pretend creatures. So we are going to do ours with sidewalk chalk. I think this lesson was originally designed for you guys to use colored pencils or crayons or whatever type of medium you want to use, or you can use clay since Canova sculpted that he used clay. If you have clay, you can use that. You can use Play-Doh, whatever you would like. We're going to make up our own pretend creatures. Explain your creature.
So what we got here is an angry crab with 1 eye, 2 eyes, 3 eyes, 4 eyes.
That's 3 eyes.
Very cool. So what's your creature?
So it's an eagle-ish.
An eagle-ish. Okay, tell us about it.
Half eagle, half fish.
Cool. So it's a.
And here's the.
So does it fly or does it swim?
It does both.
Nice.
So this hand is the eagle hand, and this hand is the fish hand, and there's the tail.
Very cool.
Subscribe to our channel.
So give a big thumbs up.
Give us a big thumbs up.
Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you can hear our newest episodes.
And give us a big thumbs up.
So stay tuned. See you guys later. Bye!
Bye.